Right, everyone, welcome to the most exhausting, most unfair, and most confusing game in the world, masculinity. Now, usually when someone says never have I ever in a room, people panic. They think, oh god, don't ask me about my college crush or whether I cheated in exams. Don't worry, this is not that game. This version is different. Here's how it works. Every time you hear something you've done, felt, or believed, you raise a finger. Spoiler, most of us will run out before we can even get halfway. And that is the point. Because masculinity isn't just a personal choice, it is a rigged game. You didn't sign up for it, you didn't even read the rule book, but the day you were born and someone said, Ladka hua hai, the rules just started downloading into your brain like an unwanted app. Think about it. Boys' nurseries are painted blue, girls are painted pink. Boys are given toy guns and cricket bats, and girls are given dolls and mini kitchen set. Nobody explained this to you, but you learned quickly this is what a boy does, and the rule does not stop at toys. They extend into how you speak, how you walk, who you love, and even how you cry. Actually, wait, scratch that, whether you cry at all. Now, here's the catch. Some people don't even get started at the same level. If you're queer, even if you're Dalit, if you're working class, you're not just playing at masculinity on high mode, but you're often told that you don't even belong to the game. Tonight, we are going to play through the levels of the game. Along the way, you will see how philosophers, psychologists, sociologists, even filmmakers, and most importantly, our daily life expose how broken this game really is. And by the end, I'll ask you to do something small but powerful. Never have I ever been told ladke rote nahi. Never have I ever been scolded for being scared. Never have I ever been called mummy ka beta just for being affectionate. Childhood is the first training ground. Bell Hooks calls it emotional lockdown. Boys aren't born with stone face. They're trained into it. Here's how it works. A little boy falls down, his knee bleeds, he looks to his father for comfort. Instead of a hug he gets, "Chup ho ja, tu to mard hai." What's he learning? Not that he's strong, but that his feelings are unacceptable. Psychologist Donald Winnicott said that this is where the false self begins. Kids create a mask to survive in an environment where their true feelings aren't safe. The boy who wanted to cry at his dadi's funeral but was told be strong had to put on that mask. Years later, the mask hardens into silence. Judith Butler would argue that gender is performance. And what's childhood except for rehearsal? The lines are fed to you. Pink is for girl, blue is for boys. Even nursery rhymes reinforce it. Boys climb tree, girls help in the kitchen. And pop culture? Think Amitabh Bachchan's line in Mard. Mard ko dard nahi hota hai. That one line became India's national syllabus for masculinity. You'll still hear it in everyday banter. But here's what we don't really talk about. Caste also plays a role here. A Dalit boy growing up in a village may be told to be strong not just emotionally but physically because he's expected to do manual labor, survive humiliation, or fight back against taunts. His masculinity is linked to survival in a way that upper caste boys don't face. So level 1 teaches us that emotions are penalties. Toughness is progress. Childhood is not innocent, it is an orientation class in patriarchy. Never have I ever been called sissy or ladki jaisa. Never have I ever hidden something I loved because it wasn't manly. Never have I ever pretended to like cricket just to fit in. This is Raewyn Connell's hegemonic masculinity at work. It's not just enough to be a boy. You have to be the right kind of boy. You have to be athletic, stoic, and straight. Everyone else is fair game. Pierre Bourdieu calls this symbolic violence. It's not just punches, it's jokes, insults, shame. A boy who loves poetry instead of cricket, अरे तू तो गे लगता है. A boy who doesn't chase girls is behenji. Notice how gender and sexuality are blurred in insults. Homophobia isn't just about gay men. It polices all men. Even straight men are forced to constantly prove they're not gay enough by drinking, fighting, or chasing women. Homophobia is one of masculinity's biggest guard dogs, and caste again shapes this. In elite schools, masculinity might mean branded sneakers, fluency in English, gym-honed bodies. In rural schools, masculinity might mean being good at farming or fighting or standing up in caste conflicts. But in both cases, it's about performance, about proving yourself. Now, Bollywood also reflects this armor. In Three Idiots, Raju attempts suicide when he can't meet expectations. In Chichore, a student ends his life over failure. In Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar, winning a cycle race becomes a proof of manhood. Daily life is the same. Think about school PTs. Girls are allowed to do dance performance, whereas boys, they're supposed to do football or kabaddi. Try saying, I want to dance Bharatnatyam. You will be roasted in the canteen as a boy. So adolescence is where the armor is forged, vulnerability is weakness, and anger is respected. And some of these armors never really fall off. Never have I ever tied my worth to my job title or salary. Never have I ever thought therapy was not for men. Never have I ever swallowed my stress at work to look strong. This is where masculinity meets capitalism. Philosopher Erich Fromm says that modern society confuses having with being. In India, it looks like beta package kitna hai, not beta khush ho. Sociologist Arlie Hochschild describes how workplace rewards emotional suppression. The man who never cracks gets promotion. The one who admits burnout is penalized. But here's the twist. Not all men even get an equal leveled playing ground. Upper caste men are often expected to succeed in white collar jobs. For Dalit men, masculinity might still be tied to surviving in manual labor or being breadwinners in precarious work. Different rules, same silence. In Bollywood, this is shown quite clearly. For example, in Tamasha, Ranveer Kapoor suffers in corporate life until he breaks. In Guru, Abhishek Bachchan builds an empire, but his humanity disappears. This extends across the sea to Hollywood as well. In Fight Club, there is an IKEA catalogue of masculinity which ends in self-destruction. And in real life, the NCRB data shows that 70% of suicides in India are committed by men, mostly middle-aged working men, and it's often cited as debt or job stress. Silence isn't noble, it's deathly. So raise a finger if you've ever been measured more by your pay slip than your peace. Never have I ever struggled to say, I love you. Never have I ever lost someone because I couldn't open up. Never have I ever felt shame for crying in front of a partner. Now, Brené Brown says shame is intimacy's enemy. Carl Roger argues that love grows only in unconditional acceptance. Bell Hooks says it straight. Men cannot love without vulnerability. Because vulnerability is what men are most trained to avoid. That's why fathers express love as logistics, as beta khana khaya. Tenderness becomes translated into tasks. Caste plays a very important role here. Intercaste couples often face violence because dominant caste masculinity sees controlling women's choices as a proof of power. Think of honor killing. Patriarchy and caste work hand in hand to guard masculinity's border. Now in Bollywood, Kabir Singh is rage disguised as romance. That's not passion, that's patriarchy in a leather jacket. On the other hand, Masan shows Vicky Kaushal weeping for his lost love. That's masculinity too, but rare on screen. And here's the daily life consequence. Divorce lawyers in India say that lack of communication is one of the top 3 reasons why couples separate. So love becomes high stake because when you've been taught to never be vulnerable, intimacy feels like you're walking naked into a battle. Never have I ever suffered alone instead of asking for help. Never have I ever thought about ending it rather than speaking up. Never have I ever believed no one would understand. Durkheim argued that suicide is not just personal, it is social. Disconnection quite literally kills. Viktor Frankl said that survival depends on meaning, and Michel Foucault took it a step ahead and talks about how institution enforces silence. Let it be schools, offices, family, they all discipline us into bottling up. Bell Hooks says it straight. Patriarchy robs men of their humanity by demanding silence. And look at the cost. 70.2% of suicides in 2021 in India were committed by men. Farmers in Maharashtra, students in Kota, actors in Bollywood. Silence is the common thread. And caste intensifies this silence. When Rohit Vemula died by suicide in 2016, his letter wasn't just personal despair, it was about the crushing weight of caste exclusion. That's masculinity colliding with caste in tragedy. For queer men, silence doubles. Imagine already being told real men don't cry, and on top of that, real men aren't gay. Many live double lives, closeted, anxious, performing straight masculinity in order to survive. Now, pop culture hints at alternatives. In Dear Zindagi, SRK is shown as a therapist. It was revolutionary, simply because a man was shown listening, not solving, not scolding. Silence isn't noble, it's a killer, and it is the final boss. Here's the twist. The game isn't over. There are cheat codes. Call a friend and say, "Sach bol, tu kaisa hai?" instead of "Main theek hu." With one honest sentence, write one truth you swallowed today. Tell another man something real, like, "I miss my dad. I'm scared about my job." For Dalit and queer men, cheat codes also mean building safe spaces where masculinity's script doesn't apply. Queer support group, caste student union, men's circle, they're not optional, they're lifelines. These aren't therapy cliches, they're act of rebellion. Winnicott calls it the return to the true self. Hook calls it love, I call it cheat codes. So cheat code number 1, break the man code. Instead of saying "I'm fine" on autopilot, drop one honest line. Actually, I'm stressed, or I miss home. Patriarchy trains men to see silence as strength. But as Paulo Freire reminds us, dialogue is liberation. One true sentence can unlock a whole new level. Now, cheat code number 2 is redefine the scoreboard. Stop measuring yourself by only your job title or your paycheck. Eric Fromm warned about confusing having with being. Ask yourself once a week, if it wasn't for my salary, what would make me proud today? It might be cooking dinner, calling a friend, or just resting without guilt. Engage in that behavior. Cheat code number 3 would be micro bravery with brotherhood. Share one small vulnerability with another man. It could be saying something like, I've been anxious, or I miss my dad. Psychologist Donald Winnicott shows how boys build false selves to survive. But Brené Brown proves shame dies in empathy. Small acts of honesty between men can rewrite the system. And cheat code number 4 would be to flip silence into signal. When you feel the urge to stay quiet, send a signal instead. A text, a call, or even a voice note saying, it's been a tough day. Durkheim ties isolation to despair, and Hooke warns patriarchy that it feeds on men's silence. Each signal is a rebellion, a proof that connection is the real flex. So by now, most of us have probably run out of fingers, which can only mean one thing. Congratulations, you are officially human. Here's the trick. The world told us masculinity is about keeping your fists close, never opening up, never letting go. But maybe the real move is the opposite. So let's do this. Take all those fingers you raised, clench them into a fist. Not to punch anyone, not to prove you are macho, but to pump yourself up for the unlearning ahead. Because honestly, patriarchy is the worst multiplayer game. Everybody plays, nobody wins, everyone's tired, and the graphics, they suck. The good news, you can always hit restart. The old game ends in silence, the new one begins in connection. So, game over? Nah, game on. And if you want to keep unlocking levels like this, hit subscribe. Player 2 is always welcome.